everyone, welcome to the Coding Channel. Today is the ninth episode of our Java tutorial series for beginners. And in this episode, we are going to talk about the switch case statements in Java. This and more when we come back. Before we continue, let me just have a recap on what we have already discussed regarding the if conditional statements. Like for instance, I have here the example that uses the weekday number to calculate the weekday name. So you know this already using JOption pane that show input dialog. So this is an input statement, and then using integer.parseInt that is used to convert a string to integer, and then we assign the value. Now the converted value to a day, which is an integer type. And then we have a string output here with an empty string initial value. And then we've used, for example, we have if statements over here. Okay, just to test if the user have entered 1, so the value of output is Monday. Or if the user have entered 2, the value of output is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then we display the output using the system.out.println or using show message dialog. Okay, now I've mentioned this in our previous episode that if we're going to use if statements in this type of a problem, the execution time is a bit slower. Why? Again, if one, for example, if the user have entered 1, so the Java will read and execute the first if. Okay, now, but supposed to be after reading this one, we are expecting that Java will jump out to line 42 and then read the output statement and display the output. But that is not the case in this logic. If we use all if statements here, even if the first if is already true, Java will still read and test the other if statements. All of this actually will just test and then before printing. So that's why I mentioned that it's a bit slower. So that is why in our previous episode, I've presented to you another way of solving this type of problem. And that is by using the if-else-if statements. Okay, so same problem. We have an input statement, we assign today. Okay, the only difference is that instead of using all if statements, so we've used if and then else if. So in this case, the if and else if here has a relation. The only difference is that if the user have entered, for example, 1, so Java will read, test, and execute or assign Monday to output, and then automatically jump out to line number 76 and display the output. So that's how it that's the difference of if else if statements. Java will no longer read or execute the else if else statements here once there is already an if statement or else if statement that is true. Like for instance, if the user again have entered 2, so Java will first read the if statements. If this is a false, so Java will next read the next else if, which is day is equal to 2. If this is now true, it will assign to output and then jump out of this if else if statements and then display the output. Okay, now I mentioned this one, it's because today in our episode, in our new episode, I'm going to present to you the use of switch case statements. Okay, which is more for me, it's more cleaner, more readable compared to if else if. Okay, it's the same problem, but this time using the switch. Okay, so I have here again the input statement, and then I converted using the integer.parseInt, and I assign it to an integer variable a day, and also I still have a string output here. Now, the syntax of a switch is, I'm sure it's new to you now. Okay, so let me discuss to you first. You're just going to use the switch keyword and then open and close parentheses. And then inside of the parentheses, you can put a variable name there or an expression. Okay, so like for instance, if the user have entered 1, so meaning to say, switch 1. Okay, so after the open and close parentheses, there is a curly braces. The left and right curly braces. Okay, it only means the begin and end of the switch case statements. And then, aside from a switch keyword, we will be using the case keyword. Okay, so this time, instead of using if day is equal to 1, else if day is equal to 2, okay, it's a more simpler and cleaner, okay, by just using case 1, colon, and then the statements. Okay, for example, in this case, we have an assignment statement. So we assign Monday to output. Okay, and another new keyword that is new to you if you are a beginner of switch case structure is the break statements or the break using break keyword. Okay, so what is the use of a break? Okay, for example, if you have entered 1, Java will execute the case 1. Okay, will assign Monday to output a string variable. And then once it encounters this break statement, Java will now break out of that switch statements and then execute the output statements in line number 23. Okay, so that's the use of break. If we delete, for example, this one, what do you think will happen? Okay. Now, if we delete the break statement there, and it just for example, the user have entered 1, so again, Java will execute the case 1 and will assign Monday to output. Okay, but since there is no break statement here anymore, Java will uh, read the next case 2, which is the nearest case in here. So in this case, we have the case 2 under the case 1. So Java will again read this one even if the value of day is 1 and execute this one until such time that it encounters the first ever break statement. So that's the only time that Java will exit the switch case and then execute these statements. Okay, if you are the type of person or student that you wanna see, okay, to see is to believe. Okay, so let me uh, show it to you. Okay, so this one, the input statement, again, is generated by J option page that show input dialog. And for example, if you have entered 1, okay, so by default, this one is, even if you enter 1 here, which is a number, Java will consider this by default as a string. So that is why we use integer.parse in the functionality of parseInt here is to convert this string type to integer. Okay, so that's why this is the usual syntax that we are using before we assign to an integer variable day. Okay, so let's go back. If we enter 1, take note we omit the break statement in case 1. Okay, what do you think is the output? Okay, before we I show it to you, is it Monday or Tuesday? Okay, if your answer is Monday, that is wrong. Okay, the final output is Tuesday. Okay, to see is to believe. Okay, see, that is Tuesday. Okay, okay. So because we have a two output statements here, the dialog box, I'm using show message dialog and the print ln. So we have that is Tuesday. Okay, so what happened? It's because yes, Java assigned Monday to output. Okay, but since we don't have a break statement, Java reads another case statement, which is in this case the case 2, because this is the nearest. Okay, so choose the Monday now inside of the output variable, a string variable, has been replaced by Tuesday. Okay, so that's what happened. Okay, so that's the functionality of a break statements. I remember when I was a student, the first time that my professor discussed this switch case statements, and My question is it always, do I need to have an ascending order there of the cases? For example, let's say case 1 and followed by case 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, the answer is actually, it doesn't matter. Okay, for example, if we put the case 7 here on top, okay, this one still works because Java will just find the number based on the user input. So for example, if the user have entered 7, okay, if the user have entered 7, so the output is a Sunday and then break. Okay, let's try. If the user have entered a 7, okay, the output is still Sunday because it encounters the break. Okay, so it doesn't matter. The order is it doesn't matter. Okay, what else? Okay, the default. So take note. I have what's the new keyword is switch, case, and then break, and the default. Okay. If we're going to compare the switch to if else if else, so the default is actually the replacement of else. It's like the else. If the input is not between 1 to 7, for example, which is the wrong input or invalid input, so the else statement here will be executed. So the same thing here. If the user have entered 8, for example, or any other number aside from 1 to 7, Java will execute or will try to find the default statement. Okay, normally we put a default at the end of the cases. Okay, so that we don't need to put a break anymore because that's the last statement. Okay, now the only difference here of else and default is that if you're using if else if statements, you cannot put the else statements. For example, if I'm going to put this one on top or in between, okay, so that is wrong. That is a syntax error already. Okay, because if you use the else statement, you should always put that at the end of the if else if statements. Okay, unlike using the default, okay, if you're going to ask me again, okay, can I put that anywhere? Yes, okay, for example, if you want to put this one in here after the case 7, okay, that is still possible. But take note, you need to put, you're required now to put a break statement, okay, to just to what? To avoid a logic error. Okay, so let's try to run this one again. Okay, so for example, the input is 9, which is not uh, between 1 to 7. Okay, so we're expecting that this one is a wrong input. Okay, so once you press the enter key, take note, the output is that is wrong input. See? So meaning Java still finds the default statement and then execute that statement, even if you put that on top or in the middle or at the end of the uh, cases. Okay, but normally, okay, the standard is that we put the default at the end so that the break statement or the break keyword here is not required. Okay, so that's it. If you have a question, again, just drop your comment in the comment section if you have clarifications regarding the switch statements. Okay, let's try another example that I prepared for you guys. Okay, now I have here an example of a switch. Still, we're still talking of a switch case statements here. Okay, so let me just run this one. Okay, enter a letter in the English alphabet. For example, A. Okay, A. So A is a vowel. Okay, so that is the sample program. Okay, so let's try to explain the code. So again, you know the input statement already. There is an input statement there. Enter a letter in the English alphabet. We assign to string input. Okay. So since we are talking of letter, okay, and then we assign that one in a string input. Okay, so um I we need to convert that string variable to character. Okay, and how are we going to convert that in Java? You just have to use the char at method of a string, and then with a zero argument there. Okay, and then you just have to precede it with input variable and then separated by dot. So input dot char at zero, and then you assign now to the character variable. So in this case, since the next example that I'm going to discuss with you is using a switch case. The cases here is not an integer, but a character. So I just want to show you that we can also use switch a case by using the character. The only difference is we use the single quote here. Okay, so that's it. Okay, now why I put the case E and the case I here. Okay, in the for example, same line with the case A. I just want to show to you that take note, I just only use one break statement here. Okay, so we can put as many cases in one line. Okay, for as long as you mean that, for instance, case A. Okay, or so mean to say, you mean that if the user input is A, small letter A, or lowercase a, or lowercase e, or lowercase I, or lowercase o, or lowercase u, or uppercase a, or uppercase e, or uppercase I, or uppercase o, or uppercase u. Okay. And we have now, after that, we have an output a variable here, and the value is a vowel. So meaning to say, so these are the cases. If the user have entered any one of these cases, so these are an example of a vowel, either the uppercase or lowercase. So these are a vowel. So that is why we can actually put all of these cases all in one line without using a break statement. Okay, because if the user, for example, have entered a lowercase u, okay, so Java will just find u. Okay, and for example, this one, and then we'll also read this one, the a, the e, the I, and o, and u, until it encounters the first break. And then here we Java encounters the first assignment statement, which is a vowel. That is why we only put a break statement here. So this is still a valid syntax. Okay. Or and then if the user have entered other than this character, so that is a consonant, for example. So let's try. For example, if we have entered H, okay, uppercase H. So H is consonant. So Java executes the default statement. And we don't have any break statement here because that is optional, because default in this case we put at the last statement of switch. Okay, and then what else? Hmm. For instance, let me just use this one. Okay, I want to make that a comment, and then we will use the scanner version instead. Okay, so if you're going to use a scanner and you're going and we're reading a character, okay, not the strings, because normally we read the string, right? Okay, so there's an error. What's the error? Okay, so the error is that scanner cannot be resolved. Okay, we just need to import this. Just go hover that one and then import java.app. Okay, and then we will just put their car ch for the character. Okay, that's all, and then let's try. So this time around we use the console instead of the input dialog. For example, we enter Okay, other number, for example, R. Okay, R is a consonant. Then we have also here. Okay, but take note the difference again. If you're going to read a character, you use for example, the object name of scanner. So scan that and next, and then you have to add another method, which is the car at method of string with a zero argument there. So that's why we have scan that next that car at, and then after that we can now assign the user input, the character user input to ch a character variable. Okay, so that's it. Next, we have another example. Okay, so let me, this time around, if I have presented to you the switch case using integer of case values, and this one is an example of a switch case having a character values. Okay, so my third example of a case switch is by using a string values. Okay, so for instance, okay, let me run this one first. So enter a day of the week. So like for instance, 6. Okay, so 6 is a wrong input in this example. Why? Day of the week. It's because uh, this program is supposed to read a string. Okay, not a number. A day of the week. Okay, so for instance, uh, we have okay Monday. Enter. So switch Monday. Okay, so English module. So let's try. Okay, again we have an input statement, and then switch day dot to lowercase. Okay, now we have a new method. This one is to lowercase, is a method of a string class. Okay, the function of this one is whatever, for example, if the user have entered a mixed case. Okay, for example, Monday with a capital Monday. Okay, so this one is an example of mixed case. Okay, one uppercase and then the rest a lowercase. So using two lowercase, since Java is case sensitive. Okay, so Java Java will now ignore, okay, that one, and will consider that capital M Monday as this one. Okay, so this one will now becomes true, and will execute this case Monday, and that is we assign an English module to output, and then we have a break, and then we have now the output. Okay, as simple as that. Okay, so what else? So that's it. I just want to show you that this is an example of a switch having a string values. Okay, so let me show you another example. Okay, let's talk about switch, nested switch actually. Okay, meaning there is a switch inside of a switch. Okay, like for instance, let me run this one first. So enter your favorite programming language. Of course, for example, Java. Okay, once you press the enter key, okay, there's another question. Okay, so that's why we call it a nested, because we have a switch here, and then inside of the case there is another switch. So that is still possible, and we call that as a nested switch case statement. So what Java SE are you using? For example, I'm using the latest version, 16. Okay, so great. That is the latest version of Java. So let us jump into the code. We have an input statement again, version. Okay, I've already discussed the two lowercase to you. Okay, so for example, if the mother switch, okay, we call this as a mother and child relationship. Okay, so this is the mother, and then this is now the child. Okay, um, so if the user have entered, for example, Python. Okay, so the output is Python was made by Guido, uh, the the developer of Python. Okay, Guido van Rossum, and then break. Okay, and then if the user have entered Java, just like what I did a while ago. Okay, so there is another input statement inside of the case of Java. Okay, asking you what Java standard edition are you using. Okay, so the version, and then you can put another switch there. So for example, a switch a version. So in this case, the version is an integer. Okay, and then the mother case is a string having the string values. So this one are integer values. So for example, if you've entered 16, so that is we have an assignment statement here. Great, that is the latest version of Java. We assign to output, and then the Java interpreter encounters the break statement. So that's the signal to exit this switch case, and then display the output down below. Okay, so that's it. Okay, using a switch, as you can see, it makes the code simpler, easy to understand, readable. Okay, and then by just using a switch, you can actually use the switch having the integer values, character, or string values. You cannot use double, sorry. Okay, and the only limitation is that inside of the parenthesis here, or argument of the switch, okay, or condition, okay, you cannot actually put a conditional operators inside. Okay, you can only put there the expression. Okay, when I say expression, for example, a plus b, a minus b, okay, a divided by b, okay, so that's an expression. Okay, or a simple variable. Okay, so these are the source code for this episode. And that's all for today. And if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And as always, show your love through comments and favorites. God bless and thank you for watching.